Hi, I'm Gavin. So we had a look at the Olympus OM-1, the M1, and a great camera. And then what happened next? This is what happened next. So they'd had the OM-1 in market, I think 3 or 4 years, and you really can't improve on that design. So what Mattiani and his team focused on was what extra they could bring to it internally, and aperture priority cameras were becoming the big thing. So they had to come back with an aperture priority camera, but not just any way of doing aperture priority, because it's Olympus. So they came up with an amazing follow up. And some people say it's like even more important than the OM1 this. A camera called the OM2. Okay, and here it is. Here's an OM2. If that's going to focus, possibly not. Yeah, it's in. Okay, so what did they do in the OM2, which is so exciting? So normally when you take a photograph with the camera sort of remembers the shutter and aperture and then exposes the film. What they did, which was so groundbreaking in the OM2, was they did this very differently. So when you look through the viewfinder on an OM2, you're seeing one set of meter readings. So you're seeing a meter reading through here. And then the moment that you press the shutter, there's another meter underneath. And there's on the back of a, I don't know what you call it, there's basically a gridded panel. It's like loads of dots. So what happens is a second reading's taken. And what that reading is reflected light off the camera, and it's called off the film metering. So no matter what you've set on the top, whatever you think you've shot on the top, it will actually be exposed to what it sees at that moment. So it's as accurate as you can feasibly get, because it's actually being metered off of what the film's seeing at that absolute moment. So there's two metering systems in these, and they're totally disconnected. So what you see is a guide at the top, and you adjust to that guide, but then the absolute metering is done when you press the button. And off the film metering was groundbreaking. And also they also did this with flash systems later on. I can't remember which one they started on, where basically it was metering through the lens for the flash. Incredibly clever. I think only one other camera manufacturer introduced off the film, and it was reserved for the Pentax LX. They put that in their flagship camera, but it's in every OM2. What does that mean? It means you get super accurate exposures. Basically, it's after that it's a standard aperture priority. You put it to auto, you adjust your aperture. You put it in 1000. You adjust your aperture, and then basically off you go. But from these, all of a sudden, you would get such perfect exposure. I mean, I think the OM2 went up Everest with Chris Bonington. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the camera is pretty much the same as the OM1. You've got all the standard bits. We'll have a look on the table quickly. But yeah, it's absolutely one of the most accurate exposure systems ever designed for a camera, and they put it into the OM2. It's also, they put it into future cameras, but incredibly clever. So same package, same everything, but now you've got the best exposure system in the world. So as their next camera, I mean, you can't do better than that, can you, to follow up from the from the OM1. Anyway, I'll look on the table and then we'll come back. Okay, so this is the OM2, and you can see it's very, very similar to the OM1 in design. Obviously, the body shape's exactly the same, but now we've got a small control area over here because it's an aperture priority camera. So we need to obviously, make some settings here. So anyway, this is the rewind. Then here's the control thing. So you've got three modes, three things. You've got manual, which means you can just adjust the shutter and the aperture to your liking. You've got off, which powers up the camera. Auto switches it to aperture priority. Then you've got this reset check. Now, it's a battery check, but also there was, I can't remember how you managed to do this, but you could lock up the mirror in some combination where I think power goes or something. And what you'd do is, once you put fresh batteries in or whatever, you'd put the reset and it'd flip the mirror back down. So that's it. So auto and manual. And over here, this was missing. This is exposure compensation. And this was missing from the OM1. So now we've got another extra feature here. So if we just, now with this, if you just turn it normally, no pressure, you can adjust your exposure compensation. If you lift, then that's the ISO, ASA as it says here, is changed in there. Then you've got your shutter release, then you've got your crank and your film counter. So a very similar layout to the M1, apart from these additional features here. So if we turn it over, here we go. So same as before, the disengage for the rewind is here, timer. Again, some funky thing for a flash. I never do flash. Then underneath, now sadly this was on auto winder. Sadly I lost the cap that goes in. I'm still looking for one. So I put a bit of tape over there. It's like a museum piece. And then there's the battery holder here. On the back, not much to see, but you can see this is where hang on, let's see if it works. There you go, that's the battery check working for you. Tells you that the battery's working. And there you have it. So from the OM1, big advancements, as I've mentioned about the off the film metering, but design wise it's the same thing with just more features. Okay, so we're looking through the viewfinder of an OM-2N. You see it's off at the moment in the off position. If I switch it to aperture priority, you see the small indicator comes out on the left hand side, and basically if I adjust the aperture now, you'll see the needle move up and down, telling you the exposure speed, shutter speed, sorry, there you go. So now this has also got a sort of like a manual metering mode. So if you now flick that back to off, and then you flick it again down to manual, you get the tiny little thing that flies out, very similar to the OM1, that allows you to adjust the aperture and the shutter speed to get the meter. I'll try it. Won't do it. Get the meter needle. There it is, in the middle, and then that should give you a pretty reasonable exposure. That's the OM-2N's viewfinder. So there you have it, the OM-2. I mean, just things to think about with this is sometimes the top meter can be out, but the bottom one's not. Bottom one's quite accurate. So you can actually, this is one. When you test this without filming it, it won't meter correctly because it has to have filming to meter correctly. It sort of does all sorts of weird stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing camera. Again, you can get these. There's a couple of variations. There's an MD version. This is the MD with a motor winder. There's lots of sort of sub versions to some of these, but they're all very, very similar. They've all got the same functionality. It's all to do with motor winders and things like that. But you can pick these up on eBay or wherever. You can't go wrong with it. It's amazingly robust and very, very clever. Anyway, we'll have a look at some more. Thanks for watching.